Hey YouTube, Tokyo Craftsman here. Got a short little video here on how to replace or remove or peel off or unglue a piece of plastic laminate from something that you're working on. This is a piece of rounded, kind of a section of a casework that I'm making for a client, and unfortunately this piece has got a couple of chips in it and I have to replace this piece. Rebuilding the whole thing is really not an option. So I just want to take this piece of plastic laminate off, clean it up, and then put a new piece of plastic laminate on. So I'm going to take you along for the ride. I hope you stay tuned. So here we have our piece. You see here there's a chip there, and there's a chip there. What happened with this piece was, unfortunately, I'm not as smart as I'd like to think I am, and when I was making these pieces up, there's two of them, they're supposed to be 20 centimeters tall, and for whatever reason I made them 25. So I cut it down and then I repaired it here, so this is all back to normal. But unfortunately when I was cutting it down on the saw, this side cut nice and fine and beautiful, but this side unfortunately it chipped out in a few spots, mainly where there were like brads inside holding things together. So I got to take it off. So how I'm going to take it off is I'm going to use a heat gun, and this works really well. Heat gun, and then I'm going to use some lacquer thinner. I don't know what you guys call it back home, but we call it lacquer thinner here in Japan. This stuff stinks. This is held on with contact cement. Normally I'd have my exhaust fans running because, like I said, this stuff stinks. But I'm not running them because when I'm running them you just can't hear any audio. It's really loud. So first off, what you got to do is you got to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on this corner and work my way this way. So to start, get this out of the way. Got a couple of putty knives and the heat gun. So to start with, I'm going to heat this section up here, get the putty knife underneath it and get it started. Once I've got it started, I'm going to clamp that end down here to the bench, because if you have two people, one person can hang on to it, but with just one of me here, then it's so much easier to have it clamped down and just pull against the clamp. So I'm going to start now. It's really important when you're doing this to not let the gun sit in one spot for too long. If you let it sit, it can actually burn and blister, and it can actually burn the substrate underneath, which is kind of defeating the purpose of what we're doing here. So I'm going to just heat this up for a little bit. You want to get it pretty hot. It doesn't have to be stupid hot, but you want to get it pretty hot. Usually, often, you can kind of smell when it heats up, because you can smell the glue again, because the glue gets active again, and then you can kind of tell that it's warmed up enough that you can remove it. So now I'm going to take this, I'm going to very carefully stick my putty knife underneath the edge here, and this should start coming up. Comes up fairly easily. The biggest thing I can say about this is you got to have patience. You really got to have patience. So see, that's already not warm enough down there. If it's not warm enough, it'll pull the substrate apart. On this one, because it's a bent lamination, the substrate is actually very thin MDF, and which will, of course, the MDF itself will delaminate quite easily, so you got to really be careful. So pour some more heat into it. Remember to try to keep that gun moving all the time. You don't want to sit for too long in one spot. And again, this very beginning part is really important, because the corners, of course, are the most susceptible to delaminating the substrate. So see right there already, that's not warmed up, so it's not going to move. You can feel the plastic getting softer, the plastic laminate, as it warms up. You can see it's coming off fairly easily. Now what I want to do is I want to clamp it in place so I can pull against the clamp. Get hot. Now it's always good to have something to pull against. Just hang on a second, let me grab a clamp. Oh, I have it right here actually. So I'm going to just clip this on here. One, so I can get a more even pull, and the other is because this stuff gets hot. So probably going to go in time-lapse mode now, and you'll see how easily this comes off. Doesn't really take very long. Okay, that's it. Didn't take very long. Okay, so here we are. We have the laminate removed, but now I can't just put new laminate on here. I got to remove this glue. Easiest way I found to do it is stinky lacquer thinner, a rag, and a putty knife. So don't be shy with the lacquer thinner. You want to wipe on, I try to wipe on the whole surface right away, or as much as I can, because this stuff takes, a little bit of time to soften the glue up. Try not to get it all over your bench top like I am. God, this stuff stinks. But wipe the whole surface down first initially. Don't be cheap with your lacquer thinner. Try to get quite a bit on the surface here. I've seen some people actually squirting it on with like a spray bottle. I think that's a little excessive. I don't think you need that much. Okay, so now I got this all fairly liberally wiped down here. Now you take another rag, take a putty knife, and the old glue just comes off like that. Now this is a sticky mess, so whatever you're wiping this onto is going in the garbage. I got a very old beat up rag here that's been through the ringer. You get some stubborn spots, just hit it with some more lacquer thinner. Okay, I've got the vast majority of the glue off. So now I'm going to take a corner of a not so grungy, horrible rag and just give this a quick wipe down. And then get any residue of that glue off of there that I can. Do the same on the other side here. The thing about this rag is I can feel where there's still some glue on. It kind of sticks a little bit. I can kind of rub it. If there's any glue left on there, I can sort of feel it. You want to get all the glue off you can, so you have a nice clean smooth surface to apply the next piece of laminate. This piece is bent, so it's really important I get a good bond. Otherwise it will just delaminate by itself. Okay, that's basically it. Just once it's dry, once all the laminate flashes off, once all the lacquer thinner flashes off and this is dry, then I'll just give it a really, really light sanding to rough that surface up a little bit. Here's the mate to that one that I did just a little while ago. You can see it's completely dry now. Just a very light sanding. I can feel just a couple of rough spots on it that have obviously still have some glue on it. Just very, very light sanding. Probably actually use a soft pad instead of a hard pad. So very light sanding on this, and it will be ready for glue and its new piece of laminate without the chips in it. Anyways, I hope that helped somebody. If you have a very large piece to do, of course you can still do this. I would recommend, like if you had a tabletop you wanted to do, of course you could do this. I would recommend maybe 2 heat guns and getting a friend or someone to help you, and one guy pulling and the other guy using the heat gun. And once it starts off from the edge, all you got to do is pull. And it's a really good idea, maybe if you had like a table, would be to like clamp a couple 3 clamps and like a couple of pieces of wood on either side, so that you've got like a nice steady pull, and then just pull. If you do it correctly, you get a nice, beautiful, clean subsurface that you can put your laminate back onto. Anyways, I hope this helps. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this, if it was helpful in some way. And I don't put out a lot of videos, unfortunately. I'm very busy with work, but subscribe because I will put videos out. Anyways, the Tokyo Craftsman signing off. Thanks for watching.